one of the things that I have seen which is very distinctive from one company to other is the culture that prevails in the organization. Irrespective of the type of organization, I have seen, or even if all the organizations are in the same industry, I have seen very, very different cultures which prevail in the organization. Now, when you talk of it, very often people will say what they want is a high performing culture. But when you go further into it, what do you mean by a high performing culture? The thing is not defined well. So culture can be defined in various ways, but take the example of a few technology companies where I worked with or whom I have been with as a consultant. In one of the technology companies, I'll call it company 1, there I saw that the culture was respect the promoter, hierarchy is all important, and finance controls all decision making. If it's not a financially valid decision, it doesn't work that way. In the second one, the technology company that I worked with, there the whole idea was professionalism. No one will question you till the time you are within the boundaries of values as defined, and sales and marketing controlled everything. Now there was a big difference in these two companies, the way they worked. Now the first company was a $5 billion company and the second company was a $7 billion company. Now is culture responsible for this difference in revenues? Of course not. That's only one component of it. But what I have seen is that culture is often very misunderstood. The impact of culture is not felt. Some people think that culture is nothing but values in action. But culture, I think, goes, though I would kind of agree with this, but culture goes very deep in an organization. As we see Singh, who has talked about it, he says culture is nothing but shared norms and beliefs in which all members of the organization are taught about and how to perceive information, how to think, how to feel, and how to act. So this in a very small way clearly explains what culture is in a way. In my view, culture is the number one priority of the CEO. If he wants to drive a culture of meritocracy, he should do that. If he wants to drive the culture of teamwork, he should do that. If he wants to build a culture of togetherness or a culture where the organization is innovative, we all move together, he has to do that. Culture is the number one priority of the CEO. Now, let me take a few examples of culture. Now, I know of a CEO who has been there in position for a very long time. So the CEO is constant. Is the constant in that organization for nearly over some 30 years he's been there. Now, the managers, if you look at it, again, manager 1, I'll take the example of 2 managers. Manager 2, just to give them some short names. Now, when I see the manager 1 and the way he works, manager 1 says that whenever there is any issue which happens or any complaint or anything which comes to your notice, the subordinates must go and see, investigate, whatever be that, and take action then and there. If they need to contact anyone from the point there itself, they should go, contact, see, and take the action. Manager 2, on the other hand, when some issue happens, what manager 2 says is study documents, do data analysis, and form an opinion and take action. And when the opinion has been formed, ask me. Now, for subordinates who have worked with a manager 1, and for subordinates who are now going to work with the same subordinates if they are subjected to manager 2, they see very different ways of working. While the manager 1 works in a different way, manager 2 works in a different way. Are they in conflict with the values? No. That is where the small little bit of difference comes between culture and values. Culture is culture values in action? Yes, it is definitely values in action, but it is much more than values in action. Is manager 2 a violation of the culture? In case manager 1 is actually, in this case, depicting the culture of the organization, is manager 2 a violation? Of course, yes, manager 2 is a violation of the culture. But is he a violation of values? No, he is not a violation of values. It's important to understand that subordinates who are tuned to manager 1 will find it very difficult to find work under the manager 2. This is where the difference in culture comes, and here is where Senge's definition holds true. The way decision making happens, the way work happens, the way things happen is very important in the culture. Culture is driven top down. Culture is not a bottom up phenomena. The way, say in a meeting, if someone says all views are welcome, but the CEO himself does not want to listen to the views of others, then the culture is very simple. You know, they might be saying something but doing something. That becomes the culture, a very, very dangerous culture to exist in an organization, because such an organization will find it very difficult to work in a coherent manner or walk towards a particular direction. What is the test of the culture? The test of culture is not on a regular basis. The test of existing culture is in two things. One is new joinees, specifically laterals who have worked in other organizations, how quickly they start behaving in the manner in which the culture wants them to behave. Second, when the organization goes through a bad patch, the culture is what is supposed to hold it together. If the culture at that point is unable to hold it together and the organization falls like a pack of cards or a dominoes, then the test of culture has failed. So I know organizations which say that at the age of 60 everyone must retire, but at the same time the senior management is continuously getting extension, and even at the age of 75 some of them are expecting the next sort of lot of expectations to come in. Such a culture doesn't really help. Such an organization doesn't really go well with the people, because at one point of time something is being said but something else is being done. So culture, as I said, remember, one must be able to clearly define what is the culture and take it down to the working level. How are people supposed to work in that culture? And then that a distillation, that how are you supposed to work, has to be distilled, and from there the values have to be created. The problem is very often that people create values but they don't figure it out at the working level. How is every single employee supposed to be treated in the organization? That is where the test of the culture is. So remember that whenever we are talking of culture, we always mean values plus much more. The way to develop culture is not list down the values and go down. The way to develop culture is that how are we supposed to work together individually, with each other, as teams, as groups, as different functions, as across companies and group companies. That is what defines the culture. Once you define the culture, distill that out and you'll get your values in action. So remember, so if you are in a very senior position, be very wary of the kind of culture that you are developing in your organization. You get it wrong, most of your organization related things, you'll get it wrong. So give priority to culture building. Define your culture, not necessarily a high performing culture, whichever way you want to define your culture, define it and live that culture.